Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to address the question of, is tactical training LARPing? Okay, and I don't think that there's a definitive answer to it. I'll just put out some information, and I'm going to let you guys decide, and you can post your opinions in the comment section. For those of you that are not familiar with LARPing stands for live action role playing. Okay. And usually LARPing has a medieval type of setting, and what you'll do is you'll have some people with foam swords kind of fighting each other, and then, which I don't have a problem with the foam sword fighting. I mean, foam sword, because as you guys know from watching my videos, I do medieval combat. I'm a competitive sword fighter. Now, usually I'm using either steel blades, hard wooden simulators. I'm not using foam swords, but foam swords I think can still be a good training tool if it's being done right. Okay, but here's the problem with LARPing. Okay, with LARP groups is that within all that, where you have the people using the foam swords, you also have people running around with, let's say, a bag of popcorn that will throw that popcorn at somebody that's fighting with the foam sword, and they'll say, "I have magic dust, and you are now dead." Okay. So basically, in LARPing we have magic dust that kills people. So hence, that makes LARPing more pretend than real fighting. Okay. So that's what LARPing is, and a lot of times people will refer to tactical training as LARPing because basically we're dressed up in camo. We're using guns. We're using real guns, but we are shooting at fake targets, okay, meaning targets that are not shooting back at us, or targets that are not alive. And usually we will get this, some of the people that will often call us that call tactical people LARPers will be the purist hunters, okay, people that are only into guns for hunting purposes. And they'll say that you don't hunt, you don't kill anything to eat. You're just playing. Okay, you'll never actually, most likely you'll never use your AR-15 for self-defense or to overthrow tyrants. And you're living a fantasy life. Okay, so a lot of times the purest hunters will throw that at us, and we'll counter by calling them FUDs. Okay. FUD refers to Elmer Fudd, the guy that used to hunt Bugs Bunny, and Bugs Bunny always used to pull the wool over his head. So those are the insults that will go back and forth between the FUDs and the tactical people, the FUDs and the tactical LARPers. Okay, I think it's funny. I mean, a lot of times I'll follow that, and I'll get a good laugh out of that. Let's look at this. Tactical training. What are we doing? We are using real guns, and we are shooting at fake targets that do not shoot back at us. Now we will try and use realistic techniques, but still the targets are not shooting back at us. Now, as part of the training that I have done and that I recommend for people, is that you should also do some paintballing. Okay, paintballing, if done correctly, if done seriously, does offer you a great training benefit. Okay, there's paintballing, and then they also have what they call simunition, which is basically simunition. You're using guns that look and feel like real guns. Okay, they'll fit in your regular holster, and they basically, they're still shooting paintballs and stuff, but because the guns are more realistic, it's supposed to be a better training experience, which I do believe that's the case. It's just that it's very expensive. Simunition is very expensive. So that is something that is available to the people that train tactically, and that is something that I highly recommend that they also participate in. So what we're doing here is we have a situation where we can never have a situation where we're shooting at real people with real guns. Okay, we always have to have a situation where either the guns are fake or the people are fake. Okay, okay. So either real guns on fake targets, or fake guns on real people. Okay, and by doing a combination of the two, I believe that you're able to bridge that gap. Okay, And this is something that I have done very effectively with my sword training. Okay, if you guys see my video, you'll know that I'm a competitive sword fighter. I do tournaments. So with sword fighting, we have a situation where we're either using steel blades like this. However, if I'm using a steel blade, even if you have a light armor, right? Basically, if I hit you hard enough and I catch you in an area, let's say the wrist or between the joints in the armor, or if I thrust into the eye slots or something, I can kill you with this. Okay, so my blows with this type of a sword, right? If we're fighting, either if you've got really light armor on, they either have to be, I either have to pull the blows and hit you very lightly, okay, or if you're using heavier armor, I still basically can't thrust into your face or under your neck because that tip will still slide in there. So because I'm using a realistic type of blade, I have to move the sword. I have to strike you in a less realistic manner, okay? Because this is a real sword. It's blunt, but it doesn't matter that it's blunt and it doesn't have a sharp tip. I can basically still, if I thrust hard enough, I will still penetrate somebody's body with this. If I swing hard enough, even through mail armor, there's a good chance I can break some bone with this. Okay, if not break bone, bruise you, to the extent bruise you in such a way that you really don't want to be bruised. Okay, it's one thing to get a light bruise. It's another thing to get bruised to the point where you're Charlie horse and you cannot use your arm or your leg or whatever. Okay, so the situation is when I'm using this type of a sword, I have to use a lighter calibration. Now, there's another situation, because that's we're using a real weapon here. This is a real weapon, and I'm hitting lighter because this is a real weapon. Now, here I have a weapon that's made out of wood. This is hard wood, okay? They weigh the same thing. They both weigh about 2.5 to 3 pounds. The real sword basically has a pommel over here. The pommel acts as a counterweight, so that's what allows me to turn the sword over and go from one side to the other side to the other side. Okay, this simulator here, basically it has a basket which kind of acts as a pommel, and that also allows me to go from one side to the other side. I can go, I can bring it low. I can thrust, turn it into a cut. So this moves like a real sword. It weighs like a real sword. The difference is that it doesn't have an edge. Because it doesn't have an edge, basically this is round, right? It's 1.25 inches in diameter. So when this hits, because it's round, it spreads the impact out a little bit, and it still hurts, but it doesn't break bones. Okay, it's not going to. It has happened, but it doesn't happen often. Because like I said, it spreads that impact out. So because I'm using a fake weapon, I'm able to use real techniques. I'm able to use my full body. When I swing with this, all the power is coming from my lower body. I'm swinging, I'm driving through the target. This is the helmet that I use. Okay, this weighs 8 pounds. It's 8 pounds so that it absorbs that impact. It's stainless steel. And as you can see the dents in this helmet here from having been hit. Okay, and I assure you guys that there's plenty of other helmets out there belonging to other people that I've hit equally hard and that are dented. Okay, so these blows don't just go in one direction; they go in both directions. But the point is, you can see how hard we're able to hit in a very realistic manner. Precisely because I'm not using a real weapon that's actually going to kill somebody. Okay, so I have here 2 weapons, and between going light, pulling the blows on this one and using a fake weapon here, I'm able to bridge the gap, okay, where, I go some practices where I'm using the fake weapon, the fake sword, other practices I'm using the real sword and just hitting lighter, and between the two I'm able to bridge the gap, and I can get as close as I possibly can to realistic fighting. Okay, so the same deal with tactical training. You use your real guns on the fake targets. Okay, and then you also do your paintballing or your simunition to bridge that gap. To do the things that you cannot do. And because you're going about this in a very realistic manner, with very realistic intent, This is more than just pretend. Okay, these skills that we are developing here, that I'm developing here, both with the guns and with the swords, can actually be used in a combat type of situation. And basically the military is more or less stuck with the same situation. They're either using real guns on fake targets, or they'll switch over. I don't think they do it too often, but occasionally they'll switch over to fake guns where they're shooting at real people. Okay, even the military has the same issues, and they have to kind of train the same way. Okay, so because the intent is real, because we're not using magic dust here. We're actually training for combat, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that's medieval combat that is not likely to happen, or even hit the fans combat, which is again not likely to happen. But it's fun. It's good to be prepared. So there are my thoughts on that. That's why I will say that tactical training is not LARPing. The sword training that I do is not LARPing. Because we're not using magic dust. Magic dust is what really makes the difference. That's what pushes things over into the into pure pretend and fantasy. In the comment section, I'd like to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think, why you think that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it. I'll see you guys next time.